I'm alive and I'm here.
And I've missed you so much.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Currently, I'm working on a very cool series about Ableton Live 11 and its new features. It's gonna be all about rock music and punk rock music. So if you wanna get those videos when they come out, subscribe to my channel. They're gonna be really cool. But before that series is ready to go, I was thinking that now that I'm finally recovered from my surgery a little bit and I can do videos again, I was gonna fall slowly back into it by doing some videos that are a bit more loose. So today, I'm gonna talk about my favorite mastering plugins. Now you ask me, Julian, are you a mastering engineer? And I would tell you, no, I'm not. But I'm trying to learn. No, we're in lockdown, there's nothing to do, there's no jobs, no gerbs at all. So I might as well learn new things. So mastering is what I was playing around with today. And I started thinking about the plugins that usually fall either into my mix bus or my mastering chain. I came up with my favorite ones. And after this video, I'm gonna show you how to do a mastering chain using only Ableton plugins as well. Today we're gonna have some fun, look at some cool plugins that I bought. Next video, we're gonna have some fun by not buying anything and using the things that we have. So I've been playing around with a really old song of mine that I've mixed ages ago called Lemon Drops. It's not my best mix, but that's why I was playing around with it, so I could try and make it sound better
by mastering it.
So let's hear the before and after. So you could hear there were some pops in there, right? In my playback. And the reason for that is my least favorite plugin in this chain, and that plugin is Air EQ. This plugin is by Acustica Audio. It's a very nice sounding plugin, but it's also very heavy on the CPU. If you look at it, my CPU is at 22%, 25 sometimes. If I turn off Air, it goes to 12. It's like 1 EQ, 10% of my CPU. But it sounds very nice. I hate how it looks. The design is awful. There's a bunch of buttons with small letters and all that stuff. It's horrible. Everything's black, but it sounds nice. So I haven't found really my favorite mastering EQ so far. This is the one that I settled with lately, but yeah, let's hear how it sounds. You see, sounds good, smooth, transparent, nice, but it ruins my CPU. So let's turn it off for now, for the rest of this demo, because I'm not gonna be able to keep up with these pops. My next plugin on my list is another EQ called RootTune EQ, and can you guess what it is? It's a PultEQ emulation EQ, and it's by NoiseAsh Audio. Usually lands on my mix bus, sometimes on my master bus, sometimes it's on most of my buses, in my mixes, like in my drum bus and vocal bus and all that stuff I really like for that. But because I don't have another EQ that I like so much for mastering now, this is also landing on my master bus. It is a really good EQ, it's a really good PultEQ emulation, and I use it just to do a smiley curve on my mix. So if you check here, I'm boosting lows, boosting highs, and dipping mids. That's it, it's a smiley curve. It also has the famous PultEQ feature, which is boosting and attenuating the same frequency, and that can give you some good results as well. It's the only EQ that does that nicely. It also has some good filters and stuff like that, but I usually cut and filter things on another EQ that I'll show you later, which is my favorite mastering plugin, really. But let's hear how this one sounds. You see, it's adding some lows, adding some highs, it's exciting it, but making it smoother at the same time. It's like an analog EQ, just like, putting your song to bed and making it more pleasant to all of us. It's a nice EQ, I like it. If you have any recommendations on mastering EQs though, plugins, let me know in the comments below. My next plugin on this list is my bus compressor, VBC FG Gray. Slate Digital. This plugin is used by a lot of people and it's meant to be an SSL emulation, I think. And I don't think it sounds like an SSL bus compressor, but it has its own sound and it's nice and it's simple to use. It's easy. It's not like crazy on the CPU or anything like that. So I really like it. You know, it's just a glue to my mix. You know, I usually leave it with a slow attack, on auto or slow release, a very low ratio, like a ratio of 3 or less. It's just a glue. And it's very good for punchy music, rock music. That's why I use it a lot, I think, because it really sounds good gluing punchy music together. Let's hear how it sounds. You see, it just brings everything together. It gives it a nice little home for everything to be in the same place, cohesive, together, glued. Next plugin, it's Taupe or Taupe by Acustica Audio. This one is not as big of a CPU hog as Airing was. Still quite heavy on the CPU, but if you're using it on your mastering chain, it's not a big deal. You see, with it on, I'm at 12% here. If I turn it off, 6%. This plugin only takes 5% of my CPU, which for a plugin, it can be a lot. But for a mastering plugin, it's fine. And I like this plugin because it's not a tape emulation plugin. It's a convolution plugin. The way that I understand that, I don't know if I'm correct because I'm not a technical person, I'm a creative person. So the way that I understand this is that it's convolution. So what it means, it has tape machine impulse responses. It's not emulating a tape machine. What they had to do is to go out, find different tape machines and create impulse responses from these tape machines. And now you can run your song through those impulse responses. And it will be pretty much the same as running your song through the tape machine. And that's why I like it, because it sounds more real than just an emulation. And it has a bunch of different responses here, like bangs with different responses and stuff. And you can see the curve of each response, so you can see how it's gonna affect your sound. Usually I always fall on A0, and that's because it's just like a flatter tape, but it still has the harmonics and the distortion of tape. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not really looking for the tape to completely change the sound of my mix. I'm just looking for it to give a little bit more saturation and warmth into my mix. So I usually fall on A0, but I'll run through some different tapes here, just so you guys can understand the different sounds and all that stuff. You see, it even has some really like quirky tape machines in here, like with this little middle curve right here. And it's really good for effect and all that stuff. But for mastering, I like the more neutral tape machines, and I think it just sounds so great. It gives just the right saturation to my sound and that tape vibe that I like so much. That when I used to work at a studio, I used to run things onto tape just because it was fun and just because it made everything sound more tapey and vintagey.
And all these things that we enjoy so much.
The next plugin I'm gonna talk about is one of these magic plugins that you stick onto your mix and it just makes things sound better. And this plugin is called Drummer S73, and it's an intelligent master processor. What that means, I don't know, but as you can see, it's kind of a compressor because it has gain reduction, but it also has these styles and this air button here, and it has the amount of how much you want your sound to be affected. I find that usually running through the styles and just playing around with the amount button, it just adds more sizzle and more excitement to my mix. When I find the right style, it just makes everything sound better. So let's hear how it sounds. You see, it just adds so much more sizzle and excitement, and, as the style says, adds so much more clarity to my mix. And I didn't even do anything, I just put it on there and played around with it for a second. It's a really nice plugin. I don't know how it really works, but it works. Next plugin I'm gonna talk about is my limiter. I use Voxengo Elephant, and I'm gonna be a little bit honest. I like it because it has the elephant on the name, I thought it was cute. But as you can see, it's not a cute plugin, it's quite a serious plugin and it has a lot of options. But also when I'm going through mixes fast and I just want to post something on YouTube really quickly, or I just want to send some rough mixes to someone, I can just play around with the gain button and it works, and I don't really have to dive into the plugin. But if I want to dive into the plugin, I have the options to do it. It has different modes, different options, so much stuff in here. But as just a plugin that you slap on your track and play around with the gain, it's also a very good plugin. And you're probably not gonna hear a massive difference because I matched the volume of the before and after, but this is how it sounds. Let's mash it, just for the fun of it. You see, even used quite aggressively, it sounds really good. I'm really happy with it, like it's a very simple and good sounding limiter. My next plugin is my favorite plugin for mastering, and it's also one of the more boring ones, and it's an EQ, and it's the same EQ that most people use. It's FabFilter Pro-Q. I'm sorry, I didn't surprise you there, did I? But it's a good EQ, so what am I gonna do? I put it first in my chain to remove unwanted frequencies like this. It's good for that because you have the little headphone button where you can solo frequencies. And look for annoying frequencies, and you can also hover your mouse over the spectrum and it will show you where there's some weird build-ups happening, like this. And then you can just come over here and click on the build-up and listen to how annoying it is. That is annoying, but you can move it the other way and lower that annoyance. And if you listen to the before and after of this one, you can hear it's very subtle, but you can hear the mix opening up a little bit more and just being more clear. And usually I use two instances of FabFilter Pro-Q because it's so light that I don't have to do everything in one instance of it. I could, but I don't have to. And I have this other instance here just for my mid-side EQing. Mid-side EQing is when you mix the sides of your mix separately from the middle. So this is how it looks. Two different curves in the same EQ. And you can see there's the middle curve, the green one right here. And the blue one is the side curves. And you can see that I boost the bass in the middle, but I lower it on the sides because I don't want a lot of bass on the sides of my mix. It might be confusing and it might mess around with my guitars and all that stuff. And for the rest of the mix, I just play around with different frequencies and choose interesting frequencies to put on the sides, and then I lower them on the middle just to create some contrast. So this is why it looks like two opposing curves, because they kind of are. It's just creating contrast from the middle to the sides and making everything open up a bit more to the sides. They have more sparkles on the sides as well. It's a nice trick to use mid-side EQ on your master bus. It sounds really good. I could stop the video here, but you might have noticed that I have one extra plugin in my chain, actually two extra plugins, but they are the same plugin, GainMatch, right here, one in the beginning, one in the end. And this is the honorable mention of the day because it's not a super fun plugin, but it's very useful. You can put it in the beginning of your chain and set it as a before instance of it. And you can put another one in the end of your chain and set it as an after instance of it. And then you can turn on auto here. And what that basically does is it's gonna find the volume of your song without any plugins on and match the volume of all the plugins on. So when you A/B between no plugins and all plugins, you're gonna have the same loudness and you're gonna be able to judge just by the sound if your mix sounded better with no plugins or with all the plugins. And you can move it around your chain as well and just hear with one plugin, without one plugin. It has this really cool button here, listen before, so you don't have to bypass everything. You can just listen to the before and the after, everything at the same volume, and make accurate choices. So let's hear how my mix sounded with no plugins on and with all the plugins on, and see if I actually have any future in the mastering business. Am I a mastering engineer? Am I a little mastering engineer? Probably not, but it sounds better after. If I had no money to pay a mastering engineer and I had to release this song, at least I could make it sound a little bit better. So I'm happy about that. Now you might be asking, like, Julian, god damn it, man. God damn it. God dang it, Julian. This looks really expensive. Look at all these plugins. Like, are you crazy? How am I gonna pay for that? Well, if you're an Ableton Live Suite user, as I am, I've made a whole mastering chain just using Ableton Live plugins. I tried to make it sound as close to this one as I could. Of course, there's gonna be differences. So let's compare my mastering chain with all the third-party plugins to the mastering chain with just Ableton stock plugins. And I gotta tell you, the stock plugins in Ableton really surprised me. They don't sound exactly the same, but both mastering chains sound pretty good. I like the low mids in my vocals in the third-party plugin master chain, but the Ableton mastering chain is pretty smooth and it's really nice. I like both of them. So in my next video, I'm gonna show you how I made the Ableton Live mastering chain just using Ableton Live stock plugins and one Max for Live plugin. So subscribe to my channel if you like what I do. Please press all the buttons in the world that help me. I'm sorry if I was a little bit lost in this video, but it's my first video back from my surgery. Hope to see you next time. Bye.